Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We'll make a start. Thanks for joining us. I'm joined today. My name's John Lever from TA6. I'm the head of marketing. We've got our partners from Shapemaster. We've got David Heathcote with us as well, and Paul Woodford, Woody, who will be introducing themselves in a minute. This has to be the friendliest group so far. I see the chat's getting plenty of interactions already, so please feel free to say hello. A little bit of housekeeping. Everybody's on mute, so please don't worry about talking or sharing noise in the background. We can't hear you. Hopefully you can hear me. We will be doing questions and answers at the end, so there is a questions and answers box either at the bottom or at the top of your screen. If you want to ask a question throughout, I'll be hosting and storing those and putting them to Woody and David at the end of the session. So without further ado, if David wants to give a brief introduction and take us through the session, over to you, David.
Thanks very much, John. Hello, everyone. I'm David Heathcote. I'm the Business Development Manager at Shapemaster. And as John said, it really is nice to see everyone having a friendly chat in the chat box. I think if John mentioned that any questions, there's a Q&A box, chat box at the bottom of your screens. So we can take some questions at the end. We've had a few in already by email as well, but you could put your questions in there rather than the chat box for John to look at. So this session is all about the support that we have, the resource pack, the support resources that we've been developing in the background since lockdown started, and we've worked very closely with our friends at TA6, with Woody and with John, to develop support resources that we think that you would find useful as and when lockdown is eased, whenever that is. Maybe Boris will give some indication later on today, as we're at the end of our second 3 weeks, I think. And we wanted you to be prepared. We know that you've got a lot to think about, and there's a whole centre to think about. And so we've put our heads together and thought about how we can help you to bring back your Shapemaster members at the right time for them. I hope that you've been receiving, in the meantime, weekly emails from us with our video, home-based video exercises, which have been really good. Some of them you can do at your desk, so it's not just for the Shapemaster members. But feel free to share those. They are still available on our COVID portal on the website, which is shapemaster.co.uk. You'll see the COVID portal there, and there's a whole host of home-based exercises you can do. And there's also some blogs on the website. We thought about how important the over 55s market was, as they called it, the grey pound, how important that market was for economic and business recovery at the end of the last downturn back in 2009. And we've looked at some evidence there, and I think that through the Shapemaster that could be good for your business through your Shapemaster suite. We've also analysed, another blog is to analyse TA6's National Fitness Survey results for the responses from over 55s, and you'll be pleased to see, if you look on there, there's some good news for your recovery, your business recovery through the Shapemaster suite on there. The information that we want to share with you today is threefold. First of all, as I said, we've been working with TA6 on marketing and design templates that you can use to help you provide reassuring messages to bring your members back, and also to acquire new members post-COVID. And Woody will show you in a few minutes the phases that TA6 advise you to welcome those different types of Shapemaster members back. In a few minutes' time, I will talk you through very briefly an operational guidelines pack. This is thoughts that we've had to help you as you develop your policies to welcome your members back, and how to safely bring people back into your Shapemaster suite. So that pack is available to you, and we've created a portal. We'll share the link with you later, and that will have all these resources on there. The final versions will be available on Monday, on June the 1st, because we wanted to get any feedback from you after these sessions, implement those and then make those resources available. But I'll send that to you in an email later. And then the third thing that we'll show you today is the TA6 Your Health Matters campaign. This is a free campaign pack that you can use to help you bring back your Shapemaster members and then attract new ones. But if you need further help from that, the pack's there for you for free. But TA6 can support you further if you need help with making bespoke designs or campaigns from there. But Woody will talk that through that with you later. I'd just like to quickly show you the guidelines that we've generated. So this is it's an advisory pack so that you can use any of these ideas to put into your own policies. These aren't policies in themselves, but there are thoughts about what might help you to create your own operational support and even the marketing. It introduces the marketing resources in there. So that, as you see on the first page, we thought we've introduced the return to exercise phases that Woody will introduce. We've looked at some practical considerations that you might find useful for how you want to bring back your members. And then even things like the waiting area, consultations and supervision. We thought about hygiene and cleaning of the equipment, and we've gained, you'll see in the bottom, some advice that we've gained from our upholstery manufacturer. So that's all there in that pack for you. There's also information about time slots and social distancing. We've had some nice questions about that, actually, how you can use your Shapemaster suite for social distancing. If you operate the suite as we suggest, which is through books, time slots and under supervision, you've got the elements there to create a very effective socially distanced suite. So that's just a bit of further information there. When we've talked further down about the vulnerable groups, the over 70s, now we don't know what the government's going to say about that, about even, you know, as and when the time comes to welcome all of your members back. We don't know what they're going to say about the over 70s and vulnerable groups. But even if the over 70s are still obliged to stay in lockdown as we ease back into the new normal, we've created a new 40-minute home-based video, an exercise video that will create in some way the Shapemaster experience from the home, and that will also be available to you so that you can use that and also the other content that we created to keep your the memberships who are frozen, to keep them engaged, so that when the time comes for them to come back safely, it'll be a much easier task to do, because they will feel part of your solution, and they'll also appreciate the fact that you're caring for them whilst they are obliged to stay in lockdown. There's just some information about the marketing resources that we have created. And finally, we think that Woody will introduce the T-2 element of welcoming your members back. And here's some content, for example, you might use as a letter to send to your existing Shapemaster members to reassure them that you've thought about how to make their suite safe for their return, and how they can actually engage with you and to come back to the center at the right time for them. So that's available. That will be available right now on our portal, which I'll share the link with you later. The exciting part of today is TA6's Your Health Matters campaign, and we've been really pleased to work with Woody and John at TA6 over the last few weeks to create all the support packs that we think will be useful to you. So I'd like to introduce our friend and partner Woody from TA6 to introduce this work to you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Hi everybody, really great to see lots of people that I've worked with on the call. Hello. Today's session is really for me to give you some strategies to bounce back the other side of this COVID journey and the coronavirus journey, so that you can start to open and start to pull your customers back in a really positive way. I'm not going to pitch to you. This isn't a pitch from TA6. It's to give you lots of strategies that I've been doing with lots of senior management teams across the country over the last two months in particular. And David will knows that my experience before being a director of Alliance, I worked in the contracting sector, and we ran over 150 sites, the organisation I worked for. And one of the first things we did was rip out one of the toning suites if they were there. We really didn't believe in them. But the last 9 to 10 years of supporting sites, Shapemaster facilities, I really see where they fit. It's a community facility for a demographic, a group that wouldn't normally use the gym environment. So it's really important that you get the messaging right. I'm really passionate about the Shapemaster suite, so I hope that will come through to you. Those who've worked with me before know that I'm really passionate about service and marketing. And we're going to launch the Your Health Matters campaign, which is something you can use free of charge after this. There'll be an asset pack that you can use. You can adapt it back at the ranch with your teams and tweak it and change it if need be, or we can help if you need us to develop some of the assets for you. But it's there for you. It's a free campaign for you to use. So as we go through, as John said, you've got any questions, please fire them through. We'd love to take them at the end. Big thing really is at the moment is there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of opinions about how you should handle this current closure phase and then how we should bounce back. So we've tried to pull together a lot of the theory out there that you're seeing at the moment. But a big narrative that I'm concerned about, yes, it is a relaunch, and you'll be looking at that for the whole facilities, not just the Shapemaster suites. But it's not the biggest pre-sale in history that I've heard a lot of consultants saying, or you have to focus on your current customers first. The members and customers that were with you prior to you starting the lockdown and freezing your memberships have to be your priority. Going for new member acquisition too early could really disengage your current customers. You'll be modelling at the moment what restricted opening looks like. We're working towards July the 4th as a day. You know, I've had meetings this morning with clients who are looking to open on the 6th, the 9th of July, their gym environment, maybe Group X. I don't think in that first month, your Shapemaster suite will be part of that mix because of the demographic and how they feel. But I do think in phase 2 and 3, it will start to come through. But focus has to be current customers first. Members that you had before, and then flow for acquisition. So what we've developed are these 4 key stages, which we're going to talk about, and we've mapped the Your Health Matters campaign as part of the relaunch. You're currently in this closure phase. So you communicated to your customers, stage 1, that we were going to close as everybody else was, and that their membership was frozen. What we've seen at that point is probably around 15% on average nationally of people's customers cancelled at that point. That figure's probably rose to about 20% as an average for a leisure trust or a local authority on their normal membership. I hate using that word, normal membership, but your normal fitness offering, not niche as in Shapemaster, are probably on average lost about 20%. So for you, it's good to review how many did we lose at that point when we froze, and now you're in this flow of working. You're in the we are here. You're trying to stay connected to your customer base, generally online through social media. And it's great that for the Shapemaster suites, there's been some great home workouts that hopefully you've been sharing and doing, but you need to stay connected with your current customers. A lot of people have pivoted to an online solution from InClub, and that's worked really well, but you're now heading towards this point which we call T-2. Thunderbirds are go, we're getting ready, could be 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 months, but as soon as we get a date that you're going to start to open one of your products, and the messaging starts to change, you increase the intensity, the positivity, and about the fact that we're opening or that we're going to open. And a big part of this flow is reinforcement of standards. At the moment, you need to be within your communications, sharing the things that you're going to be put in place to keep people safe and protected. There's some brilliant stuff out there from a lot of one-man bands, some independent club owners who are sharing videos of themselves around their clubs this is the things that we've put in place, and you guys need to be doing that as well as you make decisions with your Shapemaster suite or your normal the rest of the leisure centre environment. Communicating through here what you're putting in place, the confidence measures, the reassurance measures that will make people want to come back. One thing we have picked up definitely is that a lot of clients haven't communicated, other than social media, directly to their databases enough. This is a great opportunity for you to be sending some information to your databases, everybody, not just people that have opted in, to communicate to them of, you know, how your staff are doing, what measures you're putting in place. And also maybe even printed material, sending a letter out to some of your Shapemaster customers who would really appreciate receiving some communication from you to give them an update, to keep them involved, I think will be really important. So these are the key stages. We're heading now into T-2. You need to have a plan, a game plan ready for opening and to start to launch, which I'm going to cover with you today. But it's like Hogwarts stairs. One minute you think everything is sorted, we kind of a bit of a game plan, then an announcement's made and things change. Or, you know, at the moment it's looking like July, but if we have a spike, things could change. So you have to be able to adapt. And that this flow of pivot and adapt is something that all organizations are looking at the moment. And the fact that you've pivoted probably from an in-club solution to an online offering at the moment. So that what is your new way? What's your new normal the other side? And I really believe that the Shapemaster offering, your Shapemaster suites, your toning suites, whatever you call these facilities, they weren't broken before. There isn't the need for you to make too many changes. People will be crying out for that community, that connectivity, the fact that they can catch up with people that they haven't seen for a while, the social side, but also those huge health benefits that they'll be getting from following the circuit. And I think it's really important that, you know, you do adapt. And I think having an online offering when people are at home that they can do workouts when they can't get to the suite, I think will be part of of how you look the other side of this. But really focus over the next few weeks on the connectivity and that positivity. And that really flows into understanding now, if you're shaping a campaign, and how we came up with Your Health Matters and the messaging is really digging into how the consumer and your communities are feeling at the moment. And there's kind of two tracks in terms of how people are feeling that are running alongside each other. Track number one is that there is so much fear and uncertainty with the restrictions. A lot of your customers are feeling isolated and frustrated. We're out, you know, the uncertainty of when things are going to change, and the fact that I've had a lot of control taken away from me, the lack of control thing, you know, at the moment of, will I have my summer holidays? When were the kids going back to school? Is my job going to start again? And this kind of unknown at the moment of what's going to happen. The panic has moved away from, will I have enough toilet roll, to, am I going to have a job at the other side of this? Am I going to have enough money to spend? Am I going to have if I have to go back to work, what do I do? Childcare, you know. But for generally the demographic that are using your suite, the majority would have retired or will head in that way, in that sense. So maybe their careers aren't as important in that way, but their families will be. But a big one for them will be, am I safe? I felt isolated. I am scared. Am I going to be safe if I go back? So your comms over the next few weeks have to give people reassurance. Do not open your suites until you really feel that, you know, you will be able to deliver on those messages. I know one of the questions that came through, and I'm probably preempting this, is should we leave a machine empty? You know, one of the things we're recommending is people book in and then there's a machine gap as people flow through. Someone mentioned, could we have a screen in between so we don't need to do that? So there's lots of things for you to think about in terms of how you manage the suite. So you've got this fear, anxiety, negativity that people are feeling. We've all felt this in some form. But then the other track alongside is this huge amount of positivity. We're connecting more than we've ever connected before. People are getting outside and exercising as a family. We're helping people. I actually have met neighbours I haven't met before through clapping, or I was 2 meters away. I love the bottom right in the sense that there's an older demographic who are using technology more than they've ever done and are connecting through Zoom quizzes and FaceTiming their grandchildren or their family. And so technology may be something for you to be able to pivot to when you come back. But, you know, this idyllic scene in the middle of sitting around having a lovely dinner, I am actually having dinner with my family every night and we are catching up. And do I really want to miss that, the other side, through work? And so there's these 3 key words that are going to come up that really need to shape the messaging of your campaign, that you need to be thinking about. People have been reflecting on their lives, massively reflecting on their lives, their career, their health, their family, the people around them, their life, you know, their lifestyle. And people have really reflected and have really appreciated certain things or not appreciated certain things. You know, there'll be certain things in people's life they're thinking, I really want to do more of that, or I was doing too much of that and I need to change that. And they will be shaping a plan. I guarantee that if I spent time with all of you asking you questions about the journey you've been on, there'll be things you're thinking about that you'd like to do a little bit differently. And there'll be brands that have really connected with you during this journey. And there are brands that have probably not, that have stepped away. And this top right image of money, people are reviewing the value of what they're spending more than ever. And, you know, we've been at home, we've been able to see, and probably a lot of people's spend has dropped. So they're able to analyze actually what they were spending. And is a membership at your facility going to be one of the things they're thinking, I need to keep that? So the messaging that you have going through over the next few weeks need to really give people confidence that there is value in your membership. You know, think about the sleepers within your club live. If you had 300 members at one of your suites, how many of them hadn't been in for 2 or 3 months beforehand? They're really at risk of, when you open again, it's a phrase that I've developed called checking out. A lot of your customers have checked out in their mind. They might not have told you yet, but the perception of value is that they're going to leave. We have to re-energize those people. And there'll be a phrase that you guys will all be using over the next year, which is, you know, is win backs, winning business back. People that left during this journey, how can we win them back? How can we get them back into our brands? So really positive, but there's the anxiety and the fear. You have to be thinking about that. That's standards, reassuring that you've got things covered. And then there's the positivity of the journey people have been going in terms of reflection. So really important your marketing campaigns have both of those. All the fear and the concerns that we've had as individuals, you have now as operators, and you'll be modeling what's going to open first. And customers then will be thinking, well, am I safe? That's a priority, you know, but I want to be healthy. I want to connect again. It really fascinates me, this term revenge spending, because we saw it in China when China first started to open, that there was a big surge of people spending money on high level goods, handbags, you know, designer labels, to revenge spending. In the UK, we can already see it on drive-throughs. You know, as soon as the drive-throughs are open, people are like, I'm having a burger, I'm having some chicken, and I'm going to queue 2 hours for it. They kind of wanted it that much, but because they could, they did. And so when people are set free, they are going to want to spend, and we need to know that they're going to spend it on with you. So you have to create, you know, a membership or a package within your facilities as part of that revenge spending list. You know, if I ask my kids, theirs will be a Nando's. They want a Nando's, whereas it should be, you know, something probably a bit healthier. Key messages for you in terms of that reassurance. Big debates we've had about whether you should call yourself COVID secure or COVID safe. Irrelevant of that, I'm worried that, you know, saying you're secure might create an issue, but you should give off the perception that you're COVID safe. You know, the language and the reassurance and the content that you're putting out as an operator, you know, really needs to reassure people that you're clean, that you're behaving responsibly, that the checks, everything, but that also it won't be too clinical, that the experience won't work. So you really have to get that right. So we've developed a national campaign called Make the Comeback, for leisure as a whole. And you can really see how you can then tie that into stay safe, come back and believe that we've got things covered for you, that we thought things through is crucial. It's crucial that you get that right. So be positive. It's interesting, me and John are both on the call, and we're both positive, but I get carried away, and John will say, no, you know, bit of a virtual slap. You need to make sure that you've got the balance between, you know, positive but reality as well, and not be ignorant to that. So to help shape the campaign, this is how T-2 works. So what you need to do is define what products you're going to focus on. Our Shapemaster suite, our fitness memberships, classes, swimming lessons. Define what you're looking to achieve, who your audiences are, really understand your audiences. This is a big change for everybody on the call. I think, you know, people have talked a lot about segmentation and understanding who our groups are and adjusting messaging, and we've played lip service to it a little bit in terms of the industry. Now's the time to know who your markets are. Now's the time to really use the right messaging to attract those people. So define what channels you're going to use. Think about the older demographic. Actually, it's not all going to be digital. Maybe a letter, maybe a leaflet, a flyer or something, talking to them about what you're going to put in place would really work. Develop the campaign. To be honest, you should have it ready now. We are now working on campaigns for all of our clients, and majority of our clients have them set and are ready to go. You need to know what your campaign is, get everything ready, get the assets ready to rock, have briefings for the staff. You know your advertising will be ready, because when you're 2 weeks away, 3 weeks, whenever you've got that date, your plan needs to change. So your comms at the moment, this is all happening in the background, but your comms at the moment going out to your clients is building up to T-2 is going to fire off. And then you really get your staff trained, ready to report. Big focus though, and a big message from me to you for today, and linked into the thought behind us with your health matters, is that these are the 3 areas you focus on. Your current customers first, then ex-customers, then new members acquisition. Really think about that. You know, don't go for acquisition too early before you can actually make sure you can cope with your current customers, especially when you've got restricted opening. So that links into the whole phasing side of things, of as we start to open with restricted opening, how do you deal with that? And I nicked this next slide off John. John did a presentation last week of, it really will fry your mind at the moment. And a lot of people have dug their head in the sand and really don't know what they're doing with it. They haven't got a game plan. You have to have a plan. So here's a dump of information. Apologies for the slide quality, but it's something we're working on. There's so many questions that you've got to create answers to. You have to really decide what your strategy is going to be. So I'll break that down for you. The government guidance has been told us that from the 4th of July, if we carry on in this path, leisure is hopefully going to be given the opportunity to open at the start of July. It will be modelling what other facilities that we're going to open. Is it just gym and Group X? You know, will your Shapemaster suite be on that list? I doubt it'll be on your first round, but if it is, what's the capacity? What staffing do I need? What standards do I need from a COVID ready side perspective? You know, and how do I communicate that? How do customers book? What training do I need to give to my staff? What internal signage? You know, this whole flow decisions need to be made now on how you're going to be open, and you'll probably be modelling those over this week and next, or over the last few weeks. Lots of questions. We can share this with you to help think, how do you really make some key decisions here? Then it's about the big unfreeze that I'm calling the industry has got to think about. How do we now unfreeze our memberships in a way that limits the amount of damage and limits the amount of cancellations and inspires the most amount of people to come back, to win them back, your win backs? So it's really important to start to use data, make some decisions, and there's some key questions here. The 2 main questions on price, which I'll share with you, there's lots to think about. Number 1, before you shape anything in terms of your structure, is when we open, say we're opening with no restrictions, you know, we will be doing that, but say we weren't, would you still give people the option to stay frozen because they don't feel comfortable to come back, because they don't feel safe, or they have personal circumstances? Is number 1, that's the question you have to think about. Am I going to give people a grace period? within the Shapemaster suites, there are going to be a big chunk of people who feel vulnerable, who might not want to come back straight away. Are you going to allow that to happen? I would recommend that, but you can't leave that open indefinitely. So you need to make that decision. The second decision, before you make all the others, is if we are going to open and it's restricted, am I going to reduce the rates? Am I actually going to say only half the product's open, it's half the product? So they're the two fundamental start points before you flow with the rest of the decisions on pricing. Once you've made those decisions, you then communicate that to your customers, and then the guidance will change. More facilities will open. I suspect your Shapemaster suites hopefully will start to appear on phase 2. Then you go through this cycle again of communicating, and then hopefully after a couple of cycles, you'll be ready to start for acquisition. If you went for acquisition early, you're going to disengage all your current customers and you'll cause chaos. Now, if you unfreeze all your memberships and everyone's left, you are going to need to fire off acquisition. So it needs to be ready in the background. So lots to think about there, lots of questions, and you guys are going to need to come up with the answers and make decisions now. But with Hogwarts stairs, things might change. So it needs to have that flexibility. Here's an example of, from an action perspective, what can I be doing now? And you should be going through this phase. We are here. Once you've frozen is the phase you should be in now. You know, you should be really providing great content to your customers and keeping them engaged and making them feel like they're connected and part of the community with you. Then suddenly as dates T-2, you start to fire up the we are ready. And then when you're open, we are back and we're open, and you start to talk about that positively. That was our methodology TA6 wise. And actually we've had 2 or 3 clients who've actually bought into that as a campaign. They thought actually that works brilliantly. And you know, here's an example of that. Here's Corby, where they're actually they are starting to do the we are ready. They're going to do a countdown when they open. So they've embraced that. We've got loads of free assets actually on a library that you guys can have access to and use. So we'll share this link as well at the end, but it's that flow that you need to be thinking about your suites. You know, you're getting towards the we are ready phase and then we're back. So the campaign needs to have that. And you can start to communicate now. And we've got clients doing pay-per-click advertising now, driving people to their online hubs, which is important. So the phasing, you know, what government guidance is a simpler version. Have I got enough staff? What's going to be the impact? What's my capacity going to be in the suite going to be? Can I open? Yes or no? Let's let the customer know. Let's keep them in. You start to get them in and get them to flow through. Really important that you flow and think about this journey now. That's a simpler version of my crazy flow chart with all the questions, but that's what you're going through now. You need to make a decision of when you're going to open, what the capacity will be, and then how you communicate to your Shapemaster customers. You need to build your plan so that you can communicate to all partners, key milestones as we go through those stages, key dates, communicate as things are happening, as decisions are made, and be really positive about that as you flow through. Make sure that you've got all your channels covered. What's the right channels of marketing for your Shapemaster suite and the type of demographic you have? But then have a plan B. As the stairs change and things move, you could have everything planned. You need to have a plan B and discuss the options and talk. If suddenly we start to communicate that we're going to open at the end of July and things change and it shuts down, you need to then fire off some really positive communication to keep people engaged. Then you'll review the capacity again as you go through, and then you can start acquisition, and there's loads of stuff that you can do for acquisition. So it is a minefield with phasing, but you need a plan now. And actually, if you structure it in the way that I've said, we are here, we're getting ready, we are open, and we're back. If you think about your campaigns in that way and make your decisions in the right way, your communication will flow, and you can then build up and create positivity and momentum. There's a good 30% of your customer base who are chomping, dying to get back into the facility. And as soon as you open, they will be there. So it's building momentum to make sure that that percentage is as high as possible. What will it look like? You know, a big part of this is customer service as well, because there are going to be restrictions. It's training your staff on how to deal with COVID service, how a reception deal with people. If someone sees someone not cleaning equipment after them, how do they deal with it? The staff within your Shapemaster suites, making sure that they are sticking to the cleaning regimes that you put in place, and you know, really making sure that you deliver the standards as high as possible. So this line here is, imagine that again you had no restricted opening. This is these are the type of things that we'd encourage you to do with your fitness membership as a whole. We'd want you to book a one-to-one. I think about this, relate this to a Shapemaster client. Having a one-to-one with one of the team members, I think would be really important to talk about how have they been during lockdown, how have they felt, really understand what exercise they have done or not done, and what they'd like to work on. And most of these customers have long-term health conditions, so how's that gone, and have they got worse, how do they feel? And so that one-to-one contact. Now, just because we have restricted opening, I think if you can make that happen, it will make a huge difference, reconnecting with those people, making them feel part of the community again, talking about the fact that we want to assess your goals. And you might be able to do that virtually through email, on the phone before you open, so that you've had that connection. You know, if you've got an app or you've got great website content, making sure that they've got access to online, and is there some, you know, group X would be something you'd encourage. Shapemaster, it has a whole group feel as you're exercising through. So really important that those first things, that we embrace those. And I think the community feel within a Shapemaster product sets itself up to really reconnect. And then there's loads of stuff that you will naturally do when you come into the acquisition phase of open weekends, taster sessions, loads, but that will come. Using testimonials is really important. And here you can see the Make the Comeback campaign that we've put out nationally for the overarching leisure facilities, really using testimonials once you've opened, to people saying it's so good to be back. The standards are excellent. Seeing the team again is really has made a difference to me, and the personalities. And I think for this type of product that will really work. So when we were developing the Your Health Matters campaign for you to be able to use, we started with, you know, we've developed a couple of national campaigns that are out there, and 3 or 4 others for our clients, that it can work across all leisure. But for you, this is a specific product within the centre. So it's really important that we have a really clear message for a demographic and a group that we understand. We know how they feel, we know what's important to them, and we know actually that they're probably having a pretty tough time out there at the moment. So we've developed Your Health Matters about feeling mentally healthy, that it's, you know, for your health and fitness it's really important, but how you feel as well is a really key part of that. So this is a brand that you can have. We can provide you with the toolkit. You'll be able to use this and adapt it how you like, and change the imagery, drop yours in, do what you need to do. But it's there to energize an older audience back into your facilities, specifically as well around the Shapemaster suites, so that you can bounce back through trying to get your current customers back, and then acquisition when it's ready. Really, really important. And that you can work and use this at a local level. Yes, it's going to be something national we're going to put out, but it's really built for you to use locally. Big key stats that show that we really have to focus on this group, a group of people within your suite, you know, who are probably feeling this the most. You know, just under 90% of deaths related to the COVID-19 virus have been in the over 65s. Predominantly, that's, you know, your core group of customers probably. And most of the people that passed away had underlying long-term health conditions. Again, such a high percentage of the people that come into your suites have underlying long-term health conditions. It's why they come, because it's the form of exercise that they can do. So the people that have been infected have a product there ready that can really make a difference, but do they feel safe to come back in? Over 65s account for 80%, 18% of the UK population, and that's rising. And David mentioned the grey pound earlier. The last recession in 2008, 2009, in 2009 and 10, I think it was something like 70% of income spent in the year after that recession was spent by the grey pound. You know, in recessions previously, it's the older demographic that get us out of these situations. that pull, retail through the fact that they have disposable income and are prepared to spend. How is that going to be during this, pandemic, when this group are isolated and really vulnerable about coming out? That's why there's the big fear of how we bounce back as an economy, is because generally the grey pound pull us out. So we have to focus on giving them the confidence to come back, because they really need this product. And there has never been, as that image, a more important time to be healthy. And that's why the Your Health Matters, I think, is a really powerful message. And we try to link it with two things. So there's your health matters to you, to your family, in life, it matters to be healthy. And then using this power statement of it's time to, as you start to open, it's time to be healthy, it's time to connect, it's time to feel supportive. Never has there been a more important time to be active, to move more. It's time to start to move and meet up with friends again. It's a really positive message for you at the right time to inspire people to want to get out. Your health matters, it's now time. And that's the way that we've set up the messaging, to really encourage people to come through. We've built the messaging around 3 core groups for you to think about, 3 segments: that active aging group, an older demographic who really want to be active but don't like the stereotypical normal fitness environment. But then you have to think about the COVID concerns through the virus pandemic. How are they feeling? You've then got on the other side of that your non-exercisers, who fit into the demographic but never exercised, not exercised for years. This is a perfect product for them to be able to ease themselves in and build up as they feel comfortable. We need to encourage them to feel that they can do this. You've been through a journey of isolation, not seeing your family, you're worried about your health. This is a perfect product, perfect to be able to give them confidence. The middle segment are people in that age group who want to exercise in a group, and they want to be connected, and the Shapemaster suites are perfect for that. So we've built the messaging based on those 3 groups. With a view, here's an example of the flyer template that you'll be able to use and adapt, and you can tweak the visuals, change some of the text. It's yours. You'll have those templates. With a view, though, that the campaign can go from your current customers. We're back open. It's time to make time for your health. For ex-customers who were before, let's get you back. We'd love to have you back. And then for new customers, that putting your health first is really important, and we have an amazing product for that. So it's shaped across those 3 areas for you. From a call to action perspective, this slide here has the bottom 2 are very much about acquisition, but the top 2, now for me, I deliberately put here at the bottom about the comeback. Now, yes, this isn't our comeback campaign, but part of the things we're encouraging people to do is like a comeback program. How do you bounce back? And the reason I left that term in there, I think you should develop something within your environment to be able to say, catch up with one of the team, let's talk about what you've been through, and we'll shape a program to get you back in and back to where you were before from your customers. So really important message there. There's assets for you and panels for you to be able to use in terms of standards, which you can then adapt and use, one from social media side, but also within the facility in terms of, key messaging, which makes a difference. I love the idea of the video. In China, we saw lots of examples at the start of clubs videoing their staff members explaining the processes they put in place. Some of them were horrendously poor quality, but actually we've already started to work on that with our clients, of staff going through the process. This is what you do at reception. This is what things we put in place. Videoing that, sharing it makes a big difference. It shows that you've got things covered, but brings the personalities out at the same time. Using testimonials is essential. So this gives you some assets that you can use and adapt for testimonials. It also has the flexibility, again, because you'll have the files to be able to drop and brand and put your own logos in and do what you need with it. So it's got the flexibility for you to be able to use it with the key messaging that we've put in. We've also got social media memes and templates for you to be able to use. A lot of people feel with the Shapemaster offering that it's a demographic that aren't on social media, but Facebook, is now consistently showing an older demographic coming on Facebook. Most teenagers and kids are not on Facebook because their parents and grandparents are on Facebook. You know, the amount of you know, of an older demographic now are on YouTube. My father-in-law is addicted to YouTube. He's constantly on his iPad, you know, looking at videos or repeats on YouTube. So we can advertise there too for these people. And then how you then build this content in using blogs and tips within your marketing to be able to encourage people to help them come back specifically for a Shapemaster suite, I think is crucial, and this really lends itself to that message. And there'll be some examples of some blogs and articles that you can do as well. So that's the campaign. What you have access to through our relationship with Shapemaster is a Kickstarter pack, which gives you all the logos, brand guidelines, campaign guide, templates for you to be able to use, some press release, social media memes. It's a kit that you can take back and then work internally with your own design team to adapt and change, and using whatever way you feel is going to work for you. The key for us is to give you something that really resonates with your customer base and has that flexibility to adapt across current customers and then acquisition. So you can access that straight after and get that kit. If you want us to help, and from a TA6 perspective, to bespoke it, if you're you have teams that are furloughed that can't help, or you don't have the design hours internally, or you have a partner that's not available at the moment and you'd like us to help, then there's an option for us to help you enhance, tweak the starter kit for you. So again, you can let us know if that's something you'd like us to do. We'd love to help. And there's some strategic time with me or John to be able to really talk through some of the challenges, you know, to have a look at how we can pull the assets together, but also to help from looking at pricing and how you'd bounce back and structuring that process, the decision making map as well. So there's two options there for you. From our perspective at TA6, there is loads of free resources that you're more than welcome to use. Again, we'll send this round, but you can jot that down. It's got loads of free assets that you can use, from free workouts online, examples of campaigns, our national surveys on there as well. So you know, we really want to help you bounce back in whatever way that is. So please take advantage of the free assets that we've got. Cool. I think that's me covered. What I'd say, thank you. You can track me and John down on our social channels. We would really love to be able to help. And if there's any questions that you've got, please fire them away now. And me, John, and David would love to answer them for you.
Hey, thanks, Woody, for taking us through that. David's still on the line as well. We have had a few questions in. I'll give everybody a few more minutes to answer questions just on the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. The first one I'll take, which is, will the presentation recording be available to share with other staff members? Absolutely. We've recorded this session and we've uploaded it. Well, we uploaded yesterday's session to YouTube, and this one will be available as well. So we'll send you the links out. David will do a follow-up with links to the resources that he mentioned at the start of the call, and also that Woody's just mentioned at the end of his presentation. So yes, we will get all that information out to you. Second question, Woody mentioned it briefly about membership pricing. Says, do you see membership pricing changing? Will they need to go up to cover costs, or do you offer a select number of days to members because we won't be able to get the same number of members in as before?
Do you see membership? So do you see membership prices changing? I think what we're seeing at the moment, and I definitely feel that initially there is this debate about whether I need to offer a discount to bring people back, and there's a lot of customers are saying if there's restricted opening, they may look at that. But then John and I have been involved in a lot of calls where a lot of clients are saying they'll probably charge full price when they open. I think in terms of your overall value of your membership rates, I don't see them changing. I think people will look at value and they'll decide whether they feel that their product has the right value. I don't think people will be putting prices up short term. I think because there's a slow build up of getting yourself back to where you were, it's about riding that period of time out. I think putting prices up, I think, would be really dangerous at this time. Most people are looking just to keep prices the same and then use January and February as a big time to review what their prices will look like as much as possible. So I certainly wouldn't be putting prices up because you haven't got as many customers, definitely not.
Just linked about a question asking whether there's an extended freeze is likely or as an option. So do we think that extending freezing categories will be a solution for operators?
100%. I think you need to give people the option to extend their freeze, but not open indefinitely. You know, to open in a current climate and not say to people that who are worried about coming back that I'm not going to let you extend that for the next 2 or 3 months, I think would be a real wrong move. But from a business perspective, you can't leave it running indefinitely. Or maybe you can leave it running indefinitely, but you'd need to fire off acquisition to cover it. And that's why you have to have that agility to be able to say, actually, now we fire off acquisition and we try and replace them, and people can come back when they're ready. So, but definitely let them extend it, 100%.
Okay, thanks for the questions. Following on from your comment, Woody, about the logo, the badge, COVID secure and COVID safe, have you got any information about the UK Active's COVID stamp of approval, something that might add credibility from a national body?
I think having this, there is talk and this COVID kite mark that you're meeting certain key standards that are defined, and that, you know, but I think putting the words that you're COVID secure, that was the debate that we've had that we're worried about. I think to be able to comply with and saying you're complying with UK Active guidelines, with national guidelines, I think that's the key message. To then put a stamp on it, I'm uneasy about that. But if UK Active provide that, if you like, stamp of approval and you're meeting those requirements, then I would use something that someone else is giving you. But what do you guys think?
I'm aware that UK Active are working on the kite mark. That I think the hesitation to put it out too early is if the recommendations, guidelines change, and therefore the criteria for that kite mark has to change. So it will come. I think it'll just be closer to opening of facilities, which is a little bit frustrating probably for some who are operating golf and tennis and things that might already be open. But I'm aware they're working on it.
Can I come in on a couple of those?
John?
Of course, David.
On the UK Active kite mark, when we created our advice pack for formulating your own operating procedures and policies, we compared what we were thinking with the UK Active framework, so and adjusted any areas where they'd offered advice about their operational framework. So whilst that's not, I know that that's not a kite mark, but at least there's some reassurance that we've compared what we're advising with the UK Active framework. On the question, on James's question about the increase in membership, I would agree with Woody. Our market in particular probably would resist. I can't imagine our market accepting an increase in membership prices. But what I did think when I saw James's question was, I've often observed a lot of unused capacity within a Shapemaster suite, because the members like to go. The peak time is sort of between 7 in the morning and 12 or 1 o'clock lunchtime, and then maybe from 4 till 7 after that. But if you, because you are spreading out the capacity, you could try and build up a bit more space by using those afternoon slots, so you're not really reducing the numbers of people who can come in. It's just about when they can come in. So that was one of the thoughts I had about James's question.
Yeah, I think there's a really important thing with what you make, the decisions you make on pricing, is people are going to look at the brands around them that they felt handled this situation in the right way. And I heard someone mention the other, what's ethical, what's right, and sometimes you can't be ethical. I think you have to be ethical, you have to be commercial, and you have to do the right thing in terms of the business, but in a way that shows that you're putting your community first. And at some point you might have to say, for us to survive and to stay open, this is what we have to do with pricing. We've tried to do this in stages with you, and now we're at this point. If you got to the point that you only had a certain amount of customers and you went to that community and said the only way to survive is to put price up, but I think I would do whatever you can to help people through, and to combat that, maybe have a really strong acquisition campaign at the right time as you're riding that period out. But people are looking at the brands that they can trust at the moment and make sure you're one of them.
Great, thanks, Willie. And David, I'm not sure whether you're seeing the questions as well, because there's a few here on operational issues that you might be able to answer as part of one response. But on the operational info, will there be advice on how we as operators consider different layouts using screens, or which is the best equipment to choose over others? And then someone else has also asked about bespoke screens as well.
Yeah, that's a question, very interesting question. So in our guidelines, we've talked about how you would cope with the layout of the suite. So we've currently thought that you should be able to keep the suite as it is, so maintain the layout. But in the guidelines that are available to you, it was more about booking out every 1 in 3 time slots. So there's a couple of machines gap between members, and then we talked about wiping down the machines in between so that they're clean, and you can reduce the risk of spreading the virus that way. A few people now have asked about screens. We haven't developed any of our own, but looking at Woody's presentation earlier, I think it could be a good idea to put a screen in between each, just as they do in retail and other areas. So I think that, I don't know what you think about that, Woody.
Can I jump? Yeah, I think one of the images that I showed was one of the clubs in China. I think it's Hong Kong, actually. No, in Hong Kong, that had the screens in between. It's been going round, and that every machine. And actually, when you actually look at everyone, your first reaction is wow. But then when you think about, I've actually got to clean that whole space that I've breathed on internally. So I think actually, does it make it easier just to have space between people to be able to then clean it? I think actually the option of, with a suite to have, very simple branded screens in between could work, but you need to be aware that at key points you're going to need to clean the whole space, the whole screens, and how that would work. So while in theory it sounds the right option, actually it might be easier just to space out and have a bookable and move people around with the space. I wouldn't rule it out, but it's about how you clean. So if you had a booking from say 9 till 9:45, and then you're going to have a 15-minute deep clean at the start, is it easier just to have the machine spaced out? But there are definitely some great screen options I've seen out there at the right time. It just needs to fit. So yeah,
that sounds right. That sounds like good advice, Woody, because I think one of the biggest messages that I can see from the scientific evidence and the government, it's all about hand hygiene, and also the advice about how not coughing out into a room and spreading the particulates that way. So yes, it probably does actually reduce an area that you need to clean. So I think that sounds like good advice to me.
A couple of questions there. Welsh assets. We've had. I think the kit is adaptable, and you'll be able to use it in whichever way you want to, Kathy, and get your translation on there and sorted. In that sense. So with our Welsh clients, we would do that in the sense that we would adapt all of the assets to have that Welsh translation. So the kit's flexible enough for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, the pack is delivered as InDesign templates, so a lot of people will be able to edit them themselves. That they are template driven to begin with, but as Woody said, if you speak to us, we'll probably be able to adapt those with messages if you need to.
I think Dave Heathcote, a question about, has there been any COVID-19 specific work done around calculating social impact values? Not in terms of formulas, but I think that's a really amazing question. When you see some of the stats that UK Active have put out about the actual social impact across the board of the closures, these are daunting figures. But when you flip it around, actually, the social impact when we start to open within the local community of attracting this demographic to stay healthier and fitter and more active, I think actually the power of that, yes, it's a smaller group, 3,000 members in your normal facility, 300, but the social impact and the value of getting that group healthier. I think it's and they're the sort of success stories that you should definitely share with your stakeholders, really looking at the impact that you're making to your community and the overall social impact value of 250, 300 people who wouldn't have normally exercised, and the impact. I think that's something that you should definitely spin. It's a positive, definitely. Cool.
Okay, great. Well, that's all the questions that we've had. David will do a follow-up to everybody, so our details will be on there. If you want to communicate with us individually and ask questions that you didn't want to share with the group, please do so. As I said before, all the assets will be shared for the resources that's been mentioned. And later on this afternoon, we'll hopefully be able to upload the video for those that want to share it with colleagues and other people within the organisation.
Thank you.
Thank Woody, thank you, David, and we'll speak to you all soon. Stay safe, everyone.
Bye now.
Thank you very much.